right, with me now is former Conservative leader and member of the Advisory Council on Canada-U.S. Economic Relations, Erin O'Toole. Erin, good to see you this morning. Thanks for being with us. I want to start by getting your reaction to Donald Trump's latest threat this morning. He's now saying a 50% tariff on autos beginning January 1, 2027. Is this hot air from the president? Do you take this seriously? What's your read?
I don't take this seriously, in large part because the U.S. is having trouble even raising the money to fund their incredibly large debts and deficits. The war is still raging in Iran. Their military inventory is being depleted. There are so many domestic challenges going on with the U.S. This fall, we'll really see if they come to a head, both politically in the midterms and economically. The bond market is in crisis, and that's a result of the private sector and capital markets losing confidence in borrowing or U.S. debt. So I think January is a long way off for this president, but no doubt the next few months will be difficult for Canada. We made the right decision to walk away, but there will be a number of businesses and families impacted by that. So that needs to be at the forefront of our thoughts.
Yeah, and it sounds like Mark Carney's government is prepared to support those workers and their families. We don't know any details yet, but certainly Minister Champagne was alluding to that just a few moments ago, and we will be hearing from the Prime Minister at the top of next hour. Can you talk to us about the decision to walk away from the deal? Jamieson Greer sounded surprised that the Canadians rejected the offer. What's your understanding of how it all went down?
Well, it's disappointing because the talks were proceeding in a positive way over a week and a half, 2 weeks. In fact, Mr. Greer was a very responsible and good faith partner in those discussions. It really came down to when the negotiations and some of the commitments being made verbally were getting locked into a final written agreement. That's when there was a lot of uncertainty on whether the U.S. were trying to change some of the essential terms. I call it the shifting sands. Things were shifting. And since we can't even trust the CUSMA agreement from the first Trump administration, if we have any questions about this new bargain to resolve some of the tariff issues, we have to be able to trust it. So the Prime Minister's comments about writing agreements in pencil is very valid with the Americans. And so I think it was good we walked away. We're showing a bit of resolve at a time we need to, but we will bring that same good faith back if the Americans want to stop an approach of dominance and trying to gain everything and give up nothing. That's not a good faith negotiation, but if they're ready to engage in that, I know our team is as well.
So there's 2 weeks to go before retaliatory tariffs kick in. Some are saying, go big, go hard, use energy, use potash. What's your take, and how do you think Canada should respond in terms of retaliatory measures?
Go smart. Don't go big. Don't try and match, a collection of goods. Look and see how we can have a response that sends a clear message on a few key American exports into Canada.
Does that include energy?
I would not use energy, because energy is a fundamental aspect to almost civilization, and I don't think we should switch off the lights of our neighbors, even if we're squabbling with the neighbors over the fence line or something like that. But there's a range of things we can do, purchases that we were going to make, like the F-35. There are trade agreements with other countries that we don't want the U.S. limiting our trade in Asia and in Europe. And on the digital economy, maybe it's time to revisit the digital sales tax, online streaming, a number of things that the U.S. have completely dominated in the last few years. And those industries are not speaking up for Canada, even though our market's a very important one for us. So the Trump administration is obsessed with the traditional economy, what I'd call autos and steel, aluminum, softwood. They're also trying to control the future economy, AI, cloud services, streaming. So I think aligning with Europe and more effective independent regulation might be the way to go as well.
Do you agree with Pierre Poilievre that the Prime Minister should reconvene Parliament and share more details of the deal?
Yes, I think that's a responsible approach for the opposition to take. I really appreciated the fact that Pierre stood in solidarity with the Prime Minister's decision to not commit to a bad deal. And part of Parliament's responsibility is to make sure that the important questions of the day are being responded to. Obviously, this just happened and the trade deadline came and they were working, I happen to know personally, in the hours right up until midnight. So I think now that the government is coming up with a series of responses, I think they should bring that to Parliament and allow the other parties and the country to see the response that's going to come. The response needs to have a symbolic response to the American trade action, but more important than that is the response to help the targeted sectors, to help some of the workers, to make sure that we can bring forward some of the defense spending or some of the economic initiatives that the Carney government's already spoken about. Can we do some of that faster to fill the gap that is going to be there as a result of these new tariffs? So I think that's what Parliament's for, and obviously there'll be some elements of the negotiations that will need to remain confidential for the purposes of securing a good settlement. But on a broad scope, I think there needs to be a return of Parliament and a wider discussion on how we can keep this Team Canada unity. Let's not become divided at a time we need to stand together.
I have one last question, then I'm just about out of time. What do you think it's going to take to get both sides back to the negotiating table?
Well, we have to have strategic patience as a country, meaning there is going to be an economic hit to this. It could be significant enough if this lasts for a long period of time to push Canada into recession. So how do we prepare and protect people? But I do think the Americans are facing challenges too. As I said, they're having difficulty raising the debts that they're incurring on everything the president's doing. And the U.S. auto industry has lost billions as a result of the tariffs from the Trump administration. So these policies are not helping the American economy. And I think as school returns and we get back into September, the dialogue related to the midterm elections will put a lot of pressure on the cost of living challenges the Republicans are bringing on Americans. So I think there will be a window again in the fall to revisit. We almost got to discussions that led to an agreement. Let's hope that we can get back to that table at some point this fall.
Erin O'Toole. He's the former Conservative leader and member of the Advisory Council on Canada-U.S. Relations. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.